With Seven, I'd had one or two pieces that were sort of been around for me for many years, and I decided, to make the album. Really, I wanted to see how they worked orchestrally, and I'd written one or two new pieces that I was quite excited about. So it was sort of like, maybe 60-40 in terms of new stuff. With this, I really had very little written, so it was going to be writing from scratch. And I ran the same process I've always done, and just sort of sit down and play a bit and see if anything comes. And a few things started to come quite quickly. So it was I really worked pretty hard for just a period of months on writing all the stuff, which was, it was just fun. I really wanted to do it, and hadn't, had a desire to do that for quite a while. When you come to the end of a piece and everyone says, "Oh, what's it called? What's this bit called? What's that bit called?" And I'd really quite like just to call everything sort of adagio and all the rest of it, because when I hear music, I often think of it as music. But I did think, when I was listening back, I thought, well, in a way, it does sort of tell a story, and it's got two, obviously, pieces that are led by an instrument. And I thought, well, they've got sort of strong personality. They could sort of be kind of protagonists in a story, so a male and a female seductress and a sort of Zorro type figure I saw because of the nature of the instruments I'd used, and the rest of it kind of fitted quite well to a story like that, with a definite conclusion in the final piece. So I had somewhere to go. I had the protagonists, and the rest of the pieces seemed to fit quite well into that. So that came to be what it's kind of about, and I think that works okay. But it was, as I said, in many ways for me it is just music. Someone suggested to me to write for using a saxophone as lead, and sort of thought about it. And obviously, once I haven't, I've known Martin Robertson since he was a child, and he's a close friend and everything. So he's obviously a very good player, and this seemed a great opportunity to use that. And once I'd written for the saxophone, I thought, well, it's logical to write for violin because that's the most, in a sense, almost the easiest to write for, because it's sort of perhaps closer to things I've written in terms of keyboard parts, the synthesizers, and also guitars, and stuff like that, which I'm more used to writing for. So, and it's a very expressive instrument in a way. It makes you write in a very different way, which is what I really like about it. The orchestral pieces, the other four pieces, probably relate more closely to Seven. There's some more similar, whereas these two pieces are something quite different, I think. And it certainly makes me quite sort of, gives me a bit of an appetite for doing this kind of thing in the future, I think, for a solo instrument. It's the difference between writing a song and an instrumental in the rock world, in a way. And a song, somehow, because it has that sort of definition, something at the front that you can really focus on, is sometimes easier for the listener, I think, than just a general instrumental sort of piece. In later times with Genesis, we are sort of writing, I suppose we tended to do slightly more structured, simpler songs, although we did the other stuff as well, I think, the longer stuff, but we got better at doing the shorter things, and so we tended to do more of them. And but I kind of always craved a little bit going back to the earlier days when we used to do these songs which didn't really have conventional formats and a bit of length and a few unusual bits and pieces going on them. So when I'm doing work on my own, this includes solo albums, I've always kind of tried to do a bit more of that. And with Seven, it was my first attempt with an orchestra, and I suppose I went as far as I felt I could at the time. But I was quite surprised when I heard it back that it didn't, even when I thought it was kind of like stretching a bit, it didn't seem to sound that way with an orchestra. As a thing with an orchestra, the strange chords don't sound as strange on an orchestra as they do when you do them with a sort of guitar, because it just, you think it's very abrupt. You can do quite a strange change, and it works really well. And I think I learnt that with Seven, that I could go a bit further. I didn't have to sort of hold myself in at all. So with Six, I kind of went a bit further. Had a few sort of moments when I definitely did things that I wouldn't have done before in terms of particularly the harmonic structures and chords. I think it's just to have a chord that just you're not expecting sometimes can be good, particularly first time round. And once you've heard it a few times, it's not unexpected anymore, but it still still hopefully works. So it's fun anything. I mean, a lot of people, when I've played it to people, they say, that's definitely Tony Banks.